Broadcast is ready.
Hello, everyone. This is Reza Dorrani.
Hey everyone, this is Daniel Christian. Welcome
Welcome
to
to
the
the
R&D
R&D
show.
show. We almost got that right this time.
Almost did, almost there. We're improving, we're improving. Man, so tell me, Reza, how's your week been?
Oh, my week has been good. This has been a long week. For a change, I did something different. I cut my hair.
Oh
So,
yeah, I see that. But
uh,
we've always been joking with everyone that you should count how many times we correct our hair. So like Reza and I, literally, we go back afterwards and we do our counts. If anybody is even close enough, you might just win a prize. So um, well, for me, for me, it was a productive week, that's for sure, and I'm glad it's Friday. One of the neat things I personally like is like fall is here. I can leaves are colors are changing. The temperature has dropped. Like I live in North Carolina, and I was actually 55 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, high of only 75. So I am enjoying the weather. I'm going to make the most of it.
that's
Cool.
nice. That is really nice. For me, actually, I'm wearing a sweater right now, but outside it's like 85 degrees. So it's pretty warm. But inside the house I'm in right now, it's freezing. So I have to wear this jacket, and I'm traveling. So right now I'm in an intermediate location, and network is pretty average for me. But I hope, fingers crossed on this for today, and yeah, I'm going to be back to my hometown next week. So I'm forward to heading back to Houston.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into the whole agenda of today's call, which is
Yep.
Power Virtual Agents Introductions for Beginners. So, the whole agenda for today's call is obviously you will see Reza and me have some tips and tricks to show you. For those of you, even for those of you who've been using Power Virtual Agents, stay over here because we're going to be talking about some fun stuff as well, building bots on the fly. So let's kind of dive into this, and we'll have some fun. Now, first, I do want to, since it is introduction, I do want to spend some time talking about Power Virtual Agents from a new person perspective. So before we go in, I do want to thank a lot of people. We've got 195 followers, so that's great. Also, we've got our own now URL, and Reza will put that in the chat over there. We got some feedback. He said, "Hey, is there a place where I can go and see all your videos in one place, where I don't have to keep going to different links?" We heard about that. Thank you for that feedback. And so we've gone ahead and now put this information in. So Reza will put that in the chat any second now. There you go. Awesome. So let's talk about Power Virtual Agents and where that falls into this entire family of Power Platform. So we know that the Power Virtual Agent was basically the last member or the new member of the Power Platform family. We call it the new kid on the block. But all said and done, the Power Virtual Agent, the PVA, still falls with all these nice bells and whistles attached to it. It has functionality of all the other things like Power BI, apps, and flows, but then it also has all these other functionalities for the AI builder and Dataverse built into it. So it's pretty neat, and it's part of the entire Power Platform family. Now, before we even jump into building about bot systems, here is some of the most important challenges that we need to talk about and spend some time. Here's the thing: 66% of people try to use a self-service system rather than creating an agent for an assistant, which means that they're trying to build a self-service system where people themselves go ahead and assist themselves or take care of themselves. But that there's already 66% of people doing it instead of contacting an agent. So that 66% is a very important number. That is already an important use case for having an agent, like a bot system, for having some assistance. In addition, though, 90% of the customers are expecting some kind of continuity across the channels. Channels is not just the team's channels, but across the different channels of communication and collaboration. So that's, again, a very important number. And all these channels are managed in silos. So that is also a very important number. Silos means is that they are so compartmentalized that it's difficult to go ahead and communicate with one channel or another channel. So what that means is that, say if a assistant or an agent is performing some kind of conversation, if that topic is completed, it should switch over to another channel, another collaboration. And because of the siloed nature, that doesn't work. So these complex challenges are all tackled by Power Virtual Agents. So let's kind of move forward a little bit and talk about how these chatbots can actually help. So the important things about the chatbots are, first of all, the complexity to make it. Where in that case, you have the functionality to create, like right now as we talk about building bots, it is an expensive and a hard to create process because it was very dev heavy. In addition, when you have this impedance means that there is a there's almost a communications gap or a big gap between the hardcore developers who are building the bots as against those who are the actual people, the SMEs. Like they, if the developer is building a bot, they need to have this really close collaboration with the SMEs because the SMEs know what that bot reason is. So there's that impedance. There's that gap between that.
And SMEs for everyone here is a subject matter expert.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for correcting that. So that gap was one of those things. The subject matter experts over there, SMEs, it lacked that synergy between the two, and that is one of the key things about building the chatbots. And then finally, bots need a dynamic way to get up-to-date content because a bot is going to be a virtual assistant. What is the good use of virtual assistant? Provide me that information, and that information needs to be up-to-date. And hence, any static type of bot systems which are hard-coded or not pulling in heavy use, up-to-date information, those bots really cannot be that useful. So that's one of those biggest things that the challenges for the bots. So now you get a really good idea of all the needs, all the limitations. Where does Power Virtual Agents or PVA actually comes in? And the best way for you to explain this is this new, is the lifecycle management of the Power Virtual Agents. So what the whole criteria of PVA, low code, no code chatbot system is this lifecycle. So you start off with creating a very simple bot using this, UI, which is a graphical interface, and you'll actually see us build one of those. In addition, you go ahead and get what's topics. We'll talk about topics, but as you know, topics, as the term itself says, what topic are you building this bot for? Is it for creating? Where are you getting these topics? Sorry, is what I meant. Are you getting these topics from FAQs or any sites? Like, what is that starter place to build that top? What is going to trigger it as well? Then who's going to author these topics? From where is this information coming in? You're going to extract it. What are you going to use? Are you going to save the topics and that conversation to variables? All of that. See, so right now we are all kind of in the line of where the bot is getting built. That section of that, of what is going on when it comes to build a bot. Many a times, if you don't want to build a static bot with all the code or all the text directly inside the box, you want to get up-to-date information coming from outside. Remember the dynamic piece I just talked about? Well, use Microsoft Flow for that. That's where you go ahead and, a Power Automate for that. That's where you go and get all that information. And then you can go ahead and extend the bot. You can go and extend for those complex scenarios. You can go ahead and put in more information. And I'll actually be demoing one of those as well. And then finally, go ahead and publish the bot to different channels which are available over there. We'll actually be testing one of those channels over here. So this entire lifecycle management is very important. And it's actually, almost like a perfect plan over there, because as you can see, it even ends with the whole process of me getting to analyze the performance and the improvement of the bots, because the built-in reporting system is really powerful. And that's basically the whole concept of the life cycle. And this is something which Microsoft themselves have provided, and they have my full support for this content over here. But there's something else that I want to add, because what I do is, when I've been working and building bots and talking to people about it, I've always classified my bots in these two ways: bots that have static content and bots that have dynamic content. In fact, it's not 100% new, because we just saw that in the lifecycle management over there. So it's not 100% new. But what's the difference between these two, Daniel? Like, you're kind of confusing me, and I understand that. So let's kind of go over that really fast. Static content is a very quick and easy way. You go ahead and build your bot like literally in less than a day, and it goes. Dynamic content is something that needs a little planning, and here's why: because static content has static data. You've got text, you've got all this information. You go and start building the bot. The bot's going to give out comments, give you all the information, and so it has static data, which means you will have to update that bot on a timely manner. Dynamic data is where the data is actually being pulled from another source. Could be Dataverse tables, it could be a SharePoint list. That's what it means by dynamic data. And then when it comes to static content, what happens is that's where only makers are involved in building the bots. That's where people who know Power Virtual Agents, who are comfortable with it, they are the ones who can actually go ahead and make the bots. Therefore, it is only a maker-only involvement. But when it comes to dynamic content, it could be both a composition of makers and everyday user. Why? Because the maker actually builds the bot, the full logic of the bot, but the everyday user, that's the person who can actually go and just focus on the content. Whether it be just updating the Dataverse table or just updating the SharePoint list, an everyday user could do that. So there's great synergy between the two. So now that I kind of understand a little bit about how we see these two bot systems, let's start spending some time in looking into each of them. So we'll start with the static content, and
So Dan, I have a question for you.
Yeah, jump in.
In the amount of bots you've built, what percentage would you say was static versus dynamic?
Honestly, it has been a 50-50 with full disclosure. I saw a couple of examples of static bots where it was a lot of FAQs. Like instead of having a static page of FAQ, they built a static bot of FAQ. And that was a fantastic reason and an example of static bots, because FAQs don't get updated on a daily basis. It's a place where people just go and see all this information. So instead of doing that process of updating a static page, it's best you update that static bot, because at least in the bot you have a conversation going on. So that was one example of the static bot. The dynamic conversations was a lot of places where you wanted like inventory updates or inventory information. Was a great example I saw of dynamic content, because inventory can change fast. Inventory changes so not just daily basis, it can change on an hourly basis. And that's why I really liked that example of the dynamic content. So it was 50-50, honestly. I couldn't really say that, it's one was more dominant or the other. It was just 50-50.
Interesting.
It is cool. So let's actually now, let's dive into a little bit in the whole PVA section. Let's get a little comfortable with it, and then we can, go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my actual tenant, which is right here, and we'll start looking at it. So we are now inside Power Virtual Agents. All right. So get excited, get all that, give a drum roll, whatever it is. We are inside Power Virtual Agents over here. Now, let's spend some time just understanding this entire location of what Power Virtual Agent is and how it works. So all said and done, the look and the feel is very useful. It's very intuitive, because on the left side, you've got a vertical navigation to go ahead and select what the things you want. Gives you some good information if you want to go and learn, helpful links, go ahead and give some feedback. The overall look and the feel, I like the way that they've done this. They've kept this consistent, because in Power Apps, you kind of have the same thing. On the left side, you can go and see, whether you want to go to entities, I said entities. If you want to go to tables, you want to go and, look at your existing apps. Like kind of that similarity in the look and the feel. It's very consistent, and I like that. Now, let's talk about, this is the home screen. Let's spend some time on topics. So out of the box, anytime you create a brand new bot, and I'll show you how to do that, you have all of those which are built in of these triggers, and then topics, and then those which you can go and create. So one of the things I personally like, and this is something that you will be able to also focus on, is when you are brand new getting into Power Virtual Agents, spend some time on these 4 lessons. I personally learned so much from those 4 lessons. I was able to kind of understand, okay, what is a simple topic? How does the bot flow work? Like, what is the workflow process of the bot? And then it kind of walked me through, building a bot with a simple topic, conditions, how do you go ahead and use variables? How do you basically even design the bot? These 4 lessons were huge for me. But after you've gotten comfortable with them, and you're starting to build bots like for either POCs or actual production words, my recommendation to you is toggle them off, because if it's on, it is going to get into your conversations. Because here's the beauty of these topics. As you can see, the topic is something like, what is the topic of your bot? And I have got different topics over here. I've got I want to go ahead and talk about, I need some assistance. That's the topic of that bot. There's other ones for greetings, there's other ones for escalate, and so on and so forth. So these topics can easily overlap. And honestly, that's by design. For example, there is a very general topic for greetings. And when you go to greetings, you can't turn this off. It's always going to be off. So there's a bunch of them which are always going to be off, because they're very generic, very general, and also very useful. So greetings is one of them. So let's actually go into greetings. When you go either create a topic or you're going to an existing one, it has trigger phrases. As the name thing is it suggests, what is it that is going to trigger the attention of this topic, which means what is going to trigger the attention of the bot tied to this topic. And they've done a phenomenal job with having 52 triggers already available. Anything which is, a greeting for hi, hello, hello, how are you, hey, all of this, like 52 different iterations of this are already there. So that's one of those things, is that these topics of general ones, like the greetings, the goodbyes, start over, thank you, they are always on. You cannot do anything to turn it off. In fact, you can't even go ahead and change anything. You can't even go into the triggers to add any more phrases. This is something you can't do. So you gotta get used to it. But it's the beauty of it is it's used every single way. What you can do is you can go ahead and update the flow piece over there. The like the authoring piece of it, the authoring canvas. As
So
you can
Dan,
tell,
I have a question here. So
yeah,
you
go ahead.
mentioned that you cannot change the trigger phrases.
Right.
My question is, what if I greet the bot in a way that is not covered in that trigger phrase? Maybe it says hello agent, I say hello virtual agent. Do you think that's going to trigger it?
Yeah, so if you what you can do is you can do a comparing and a contrasting between what are the greetings available over here, and then if you want a very specific, like hello agent or hello 007, whatever you want, then create another trigger and or a topic and be very specific over there, because the Power Virtual Agents does use intelligence, because it knows that, hey, there is a difference between hello agent versus hello 007. This other topic has 007, so I'm going to start over there. So it's very smart in that way. It's not something that, oh man, it's so dumbed down that I need to really be specific. No, it's very smart. So if you have another topic with all these triggers, it'll go over there instead. So yeah, that's a good question. I get asked a lot, is that, man, these 52 are not enough. I said, that's fine. You can't turn it off, so you might as well use it, but then create another topic and then add your triggers over there, and then you should be pretty much golden on that. So but while you're here, what you can do is you have full access to go into the authoring piece, and over there you can actually go ahead and update that. So one of the things I did is, I actually updated this. Chewy is one of the people we know from Power Apps 911. I always mess with these guys, so I was joking with them that, hey man, I'm actually going to build a bot for you guys, and that's what I did. Is I went ahead and updated the content inside just the way I wanted it. So that flexibility is great. Like I can't do anything with the triggers, but I can go and do that. But we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. They kind of focus easily on the topic pieces. So what we just covered is the lessons, and we covered that these out of the box topics are the ones that you have to use, and you've got workarounds for that. And then the big takeaway over there is that after you are done with the testing and the playing, go ahead and make sure that you toggle off those lessons, because they can go ahead and intercede over there. Cool. So now let's spend a little bit of time on these entities. Now, entities is and as the name suggests, that it is a natural language understanding of what it represents. What is the representation of this information? Key thing is that term. What is the representation of this information? So as you can see, the representation of all of these things has to do with age, city, color of primary colors of that color spectrum, whatever it could be, colors tied to color of the walls in your house, color of your vehicle that you drive, those type of color representation. So what is the context of that? Now, one question I get asked is, hey Daniel, this is entities. So first of all, is this going to change because it hasn't been changed? Hey, all these other entities, they became tables. Is this the same type of thing? No, these entities are not the same type of entities we used to see in Power Apps CDS over there. These are completely different. So these names these entities are not going to be changed to tables. They will remain that way, and its context is completely different. So kind of keep that in mind. That don't get confused. They're very different. And you can go and use these out of the box, or you can go ahead and create your own entity. It's completely up to you. You have all these methods to choose from too. Is whether you want it as a closed list, or you want to go ahead and have a regular expression, rather regex. There's some fun stuff involved over there, but that's the thing. Honestly, from all the talking that I've done about this, I really don't see a lot of people spend some time on this one. They just use that out of the box. Cool. So these were the two important things, enough for us to go ahead and start looking at that first type of bot that I was talking about, the bot that actually has the static content. So here's the example of the bot, right? Back in the day, and which to some extent it is still there, when the lockdown occurred, there is a company called Cheers Incorporated. Cheers Incorporated did two things. People who needed service would contact them, and then also people who offered service could contact them. So Cheers Incorporated was getting hammered with all these phone calls because people needed service and people offered service. They were constantly getting hammered with all of that. So what Cheers Incorporated did is, okay, I need an intermediate contact person to go ahead and help me what's going on over there. So they were able to now go ahead and leverage a Power Virtual Agent chatbot system to at least handle like 80 to sometimes 90% of those conversations, and any conversations which could not be carried over or needed the next level, the bot went ahead and transferred it over to a form. So it's that really made life a lot easier for basically the support system or the people who take the phone calls. That is a very important piece for the and a very important scenario for the Power Virtual Agents. Now, I do want to pause over here and bring out a very important point. There has been some discussions where people have come and said, man, bots, are they going to replace me? Am I going to lose my job because of a bot? And this is a prime example where, first of all, you are not going to lose your job because of a bot system. Bots are going to make your life so much more easier. They are going to take away from you that day-to-day, mundane, and yet time-consuming tasks that you do. This bot will take that out. It'll take that big load off your shoulder so that you can focus on those big tasks in your career, your day-to-day task jobs. And then this is a prime example, because now you don't have to directly spend some time on the load of people contacting you, but you're still going to network with those people, because you're going to get all those form requests that come in. Now you can focus on those forms, and you can spend still all that attention, time and attention, giving your end users, your customers, whoever, all the support that they need, but you don't get all busy with that. So takeaway, bots are not going to replace us or take away our jobs. They're going to make our jobs a lot easier over there. So let's actually take a look at this great example that we have, right? So what we've done is, this is an example of a static bot. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch gears now and go into that bot system that we saw. So here I have a topic, and it's called need some assistance. So in need some assistance, I've got all of these 10 phrases that I already went ahead at. It could be somebody coming in and say, hey, free help, or I can provide some labor, I can provide some financial assistance, I can provide some money. And basically that's the different types of bot systems that we've got over here. It's the type of bot systems where we say that, the same context, right? Either I need help or I provide help. Well, these are the type of, trigger phrases that people can do. Is like, I can provide is one of them. In fact, I should have just put in a trigger for I can provide and I need some. And so those are my trigger phrases. Once I got a little comfortable with trigger phrases, because the note over here says that you need at least 5 to start with. My magic number has always been at least 7, but I've always been on the highs. At least put in 10 so you can go in, and the more the merrier, because that way no overlapping happens. Cool. So now let's go and talk about this authoring canvas. The authoring canvas is where all the design happens. So once I come in over here, I try to get myself as much more room as possible. So what I do is this hamburger menu, I go ahead and click on that. Some of you, depending if it's the first time, you might even have your chat test bot ready. You can go ahead and click on this, so you have a lot more real estate space to go and start. So now when we've come over here, trigger phrases by default are already ready. And then you will also have this message already ready. So these are the 2 things that you will always have ready over there. So next, what we've done is the first thing the bot asks is, hey, we are glad you stopped by. What is it that you want? So, do you need help, or are you willing to help? This is a neat, transition, because this is something that I've been doing a lot. Is I already have that message. So next thing I do is I ask a question. Now, you could go ahead and not use this message, because you could pretty much in your text come in like that, and you could ask your you could basically put in, we are glad you stopped by, and put that over here. So basically, because somebody was saying that, Daniel, I could just put that message in the question, put a space, and start again. The reason I do this is because I will go ahead and start a conversation, and in that case, I don't want that to be in that same starting of conversation. So whenever you're looping your conversations or your bots, logic, you kind of want to break down the message as a separate action altogether. And that's why I have taken this example. So when you go ahead and start playing around with, building this bot, you've got the question. Here are some functionalities that you have in your questions. You've got all of these, functionalities and neat options available. Two most common ones that I've used is the multiple choice and the user's entire response. The user's entire response helps because you're putting in natural language type of flexibility for these end users, and it works really well. I'll still tell you why I use multiple choices a lot is because you want the bot's conversation to be as natural as possible. But one other thing is you're the bot maker. You need to govern and be full control of that conversation because you cannot 100% predict how these users are going to go ahead and add their text over there. It's really hard to completely anticipate that. So that's why I always have gone with these multiple choices. And I go ahead and put these multiple choices. That way I have full control of the conversation of how it is going. And then after I've selected the multiple choices, I can go and add multiple amounts over there. I just don't have any limitations. I don't have any limitations where it only needs to be one word or only digits or any such limitations. I don't have. I've actually put some conversations over here going on. And then the beauty of this is that I can go ahead and now use that to go ahead and add it into a variable so that I can call this variable into another section. So while we are here, I want to show you really neat tricks, which is all of these functionalities. So I could, over here, it's something called a zoom in. So if I were to have, say, zoomed out, I can use this zoom in feature. So this tools over here is pretty neat. I can zoom out. So I can go and zoom out. I can go in and zoom in. This feature over here is it recenters it, which is really useful because you might go all the way to the one side, all the way to the other side. You may want to center it again. You use this recenter. But this mini map is one of my personal favorites. What it does is it actually allows me to go ahead and have this Visio type effect to show me how is the overall design of this bot. One of my personal favorites over here. So that's why when we look on this, you'll understand that, okay, Daniel, I think I'm getting your logic. You've got the initial bot right over here having an initial conversation. And then right over here, which is right this one, you're classifying that as two different types of conversations. One is for someone who needs help, and the other one who's going to offer help, which is volunteer help. And you've pretty much knocked that out of the park because that's exactly what I did. Because even though it looks like it's a long, big one, it's actually very simple. It's all hard-coded text, and it's the exact same. The one on the left over here is when somebody needs help, which is right over here. And then the one on the right is the exact same thing, but somebody who's offering help. So let's kind of go at least on the left side, which is somebody who needs help, right? So when they went and selected that button, is somebody who needs help. The bot says, we'll do our very best to help you. And then the bot has more questions coming in. Like, what kind of help do you need? Is it a financial help, household chores, like cleaning, vacuuming, whatever, mowing your yard? Do you need babysitters? Do you need any help in technology? And then the more you select over here, the more it goes ahead and, creates all that. So if you're a first-time user and say, oh man, this looks pretty complex, it's not. It just in this case, I created this big, honestly, it's ready to go ahead and test it type of scenario. That's why it looks big, but the overall concept is very simple, very straightforward. So I'll just pause over here. Let's go test it so you have a real-time effect of what is going on. So I'm going to come in over here and that you can kind of see what is going on because it will actually do us a full testing. So we'll go ahead and start with right on the top, and I'm going to say, I need some help. All right, so let's do like a responsive type over here. So it was able to identify that, hey, even though I didn't have a very exact trigger that matched, I need some help, the intelligence was able to pick it up, saying that this is pretty neat. This is the type of topic that the user is asking. And now it knows that, hey, this is, it's asking me that same thing. Is right now I put in these two options for the user. They show up as these kind of buttons for you to select. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm glad you stopped by. You need help. Are you willing to volunteer? In this case, it is just double checking. So I said, yeah, I actually need help. So I went and clicked that. And then the next piece is like, we'll do our very best to help. And as you can see, it is very dynamic. So while you're testing it in this test bot, it is telling you at which point in your logic are you actually there. So you are able to real time do some amazing testing, which is going on. And then now over here, I had given the users or the end user 4 more options to select. And I'm going to say, I actually need some financial help. So in the financial help, it's like, we sympathize with you, and we'll do our very best. If you go ahead and now click the form, it will go ahead and take you to a Microsoft form. In the Microsoft form, you go ahead and fill out all the information. Again, like that example that I just showed you. Then it's asking, need anything else? And I said, yeah, actually, I do need, I can do anything else. And this is where I kind of talked about the example, because now I want to start back at this area of the loop. If I had put this text over here, it would be very confusing for the people, because the user just didn't stop by right now. The user stopped by a few minutes ago. See the importance of actually that message versus breaking the question down. Like now when I demoed it, you'll actually understand that. It kind of makes sense. Like put that message as a separate action altogether. It really helps. So in this case, I'm going to say, you know what? I know I can't even help volunteer. So the person, then the bot's like, great. What can you volunteer with? And then you can go and say, hey, I can volunteer with doing landscaping, so on and so forth. So you actually have this conversation thing going on. So that was the effect of building a very simple and a very static bot. As you know, and again, for the emphasis on the static bot, everything is happening over here. All the text, all the content, all the responses, they're all like, see all the messages that the bot did, it is hard-coded text inside over here. And again, for this scenario, specifically for this scenario where information is not going to change very often, a static bot is a fantastic example. It's a very applicable for this scenario, and it works really well. But let's switch gears now and build one dynamic one, and that one we'll build it together. So what I'm going to do now is, now I want to check to see, but did Reza, any specific questions came in for the static bot type of scenario?
No specific questions. There were comments that about the experience that you showed of creating the bot. Zoom in, zoom out. Mini map. I had seen that, but I did not. I had seen the option, but I didn't play much with it. So I really like that. One specific question though that I said if I get an opportunity, I will try and put that on the screen. It was related to trigger phrases, so I'm going to put that on the screen. This is by Rob. Is it possible to translate the trigger phrases inside the always on option? So I'm assuming he's talking about language translations here.
So is it possible to translate the trigger phrases inside the always on option? I'm not 100% sure on that. I understand what he's asking. I don't know 100%. We'll have to yeah, it is. I think it is going towards that natural language understanding piece over there. I'll have to test that, Rob. That's my takeaway from this conversation. I'll test it. I'm leaning towards a yes, but let me test it. Let me just verify that. I do. That's a great question, though. I'm kind of stumped on that one. But yeah, I'll take that away. We are recording all these conversations, so we'll definitely take a note on that. All right, cool.
So Dan, time check. It's 11:33. We probably have 5 minutes to show the dynamic one.
All right, we are running out of time. Gotcha. All right, so it's times like scenarios like these where I actually have one already built. In 5 minutes, we may not be able to build a bot. So let's go ahead and build another one. So in the dynamic bot, as I had mentioned before, one of the things we're going to do in the dynamic bot is build a very dynamic app. I mean, I said app. This is just being, the words coming out of my mouth are very interesting today. Not an app, we're building a bot. We are building a bot. Okay, so the context of this bot is going to be pretty interesting. What we are doing is we're building a dynamic bot, and the logic of this bot is going to be so sound that we don't have to do anything after we built it, because all the data is coming from a SharePoint list. And Power Automate is going to be the one in between. So let's go now to our topics. And here's what it is. I've called it as the R&D learning content. But before we build the logic of the bot, we need to have our data in place. And so for that, what I've done is I've actually gone ahead and put in a SharePoint list. This is my SharePoint list, and I went ahead and added four very important things. Well, let me step back a little. What this bot is going to do is it's going to give you all the flexibility to just come and chat to the bot saying that, hey, man, I need some information about Power Virtual Agents, and can you provide me all the content that Reza or Daniel have already built, like YouTube links and stuff like that, where I can just go ahead and click on it. So I don't have to search for it. I just ask you all, ask the bot, and the bot provides me the link. That's the whole context. Very similar. So first thing we did was we went to the SharePoint list and we added all our stuff over here. Now, if you wanted to really take this to the next level, and if you're already pretty savvy with Power Automate, you could do REST API calls to our individual YouTube channels to do that. But this is a beginner level one, so I'm not going to dive too much into it. I just took the easier way route is when I went ahead and actually created a SharePoint list. And all I did was the titles of each of our videos, who is the author, which is the author of the video, what is the content type? Is it video? Is it a blog? What is it? And then each of the links. That's all there is in the SharePoint list. Literally, that list, building that list took all of 2 minutes. Now, let's take a look at my bot over here. So here's my bot. And in the bot, I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to see what were my triggers. So in my triggers was show, like actually want to show, R&D show, or was it a Reza and Dan show? Sometimes people have called me Mr. Christian. So I went ahead and put in any possible triggers I could think of. I went ahead and put that in, like, it was Mr. Dorrani was another one. Somebody, may just call him out of respect with his last name. So that can also work. Mr. Reza Dorrani, just Reza, same context. I did as much of triggers as I could. That's why I said, even though the minimum is 5, recommended is 10, I kind of went above and beyond on that. But now let's kind of dig into our actual, bot and the authoring of it. So one of the things I've always consistently noticed is that when you start spending some time and building this dynamic ones, those flows all in all tend to be a little small because it's just small, like nothing fancy is happening. And here it is, like, after the trigger, it says, hi there, welcome to the R&D show chatbot. And then it'll come back and say, both Reza and Dan have learning content for both Power Virtual Agents. Anyone in particular you're interested in? And then it'll give you the options for Reza and Daniel. That option is stored in this place over here directly, which is stored into a variable. And in that variable, based on which you select, it will go ahead and give you the option. So here's the neat thing in the message is the use of variables. Because I don't know what the bot is, what the user is going to select. So I go ahead and now leverage the variable and I say, great choice. The variable, which could be Reza or Daniel, has some amazing content for choice for chatbots. Let me get them for you. And here's where the next magic happens is I didn't have to put links for each and every one of them over here and then provide that. I just did it in a flow. And in Power Automate Flow, it will take the information that you put in, and in this case, like who did this user select? Was it Reza or Daniel? Great. The user gets, the flow will go ahead and get the value from the user and will send some value back. So let's go take a look at the flow. Now, about the flow, this thing really gets me excited, Reza, because this little bit over here, that link was not there the first time. The first time when the flow came out, it was a mess. I'll be dead honest. In fact, I've got screenshots over here. I'll show you at the end if you have time. But this link was neat. So I now I can just click on that link. It directly takes me to the flow. That just makes your life so much more easier.
Nice.
Sorry, I got excited over there.
Nice.
But let's go and take a look at the flow. All right. The look and the flow is I go to edit, and then the trigger is from Power Virtual Agents, and it went ahead and grabbed whatever the user put in. This is pretty simple. You all know this piece. This is the easy part because everybody pretty much has done something like that specifically with SharePoint. Is now I went ahead and initialized the variable, and then I go ahead and use the get items. In the get items, we did a filter. So we do a server-side filter, and that is the starts with. Starts with was author, and I did a mistake when I was creating that author. So I got to make sure that I get the exact author name, which is the list column name. And then it is doing a starts with is, hey, did the user put in Reza or Daniel? I don't care. I know that the author's name should start with whatever the user put in. It does a filter, goes ahead and saves all of that information and appends it directly in this format. And now here is the markdown design that I did. Markdown design is very interesting. It's not HTML, even though it's HTML-ish, but it's not HTML. It has a very specific design. And, Reza, if you can just quickly find the link for that Microsoft doc for Markdown and put it in the chat, it'll be useful over there. So it's very simple, and there's sometimes some confusions which happen. So, like for example, the open brackets, close brackets, the square ones, that's where you put the title. The curved brackets, that's where you put the link, and it gives you a hyperlink design. Now, the one dot is not that this is the first one and that's it. No, the one is telling me that, hey, I want to put this in a ascending numerical order technique. So all we are doing over here is actually a format design, and then I'm just returning it. The flow is literally that simple, but the beauty of it is you can actually go ahead and test it. So let's do that. Let's go back to our bot. Let's go and turn on the chatbot style over here, and we'll go ahead and do some testing. So I'm going to just say, show. All right, just put in show, and in the show, it triggers out the bot because it knows that that's the topic that the person is talking about. So it says, hi there, welcome to the R&D show chatbot. Both Dan and Reza are have learning content. So that's great. Now check this out. I'm going to go and select Reza. So now Reza's name went ahead and got saved into that var user variable. And therefore, it'll come back and says, great choice, right there, up on the top. Great choice, great choice. Reza has some amazing content, because that Reza came from the original click that you did. It went ahead and ran the flow. So it already triggered this section so fast. The flow got triggered really fast. And it also went ahead and responded with the information. And now you got all the links. So you see that markdown design? It's pretty slick though. I mean, it works really well. And remember that one dot which I had, which sometimes can be a little confusing. No, they're actually numbers in ascending order, and the links work. Like if I go and click on it, it will take you straight to Reza's YouTube over there. So it works really well. And then after that, I just, it's the logic. It's like, okay, do you want in anything else? I can say yes. In that, takes me all the way up to the top, and I can start with no worries. Let's start from the beginning. And then after that, I can say, hey, I want Daniel's one. Daniel's one also comes in, and now you can add other features over there. You could go ahead and add, training and whatnot. But I'm going to pause over here because this is a good time to kind of hand over to Reza, because he's going to take it from a team's perspective. But I've kind of helped at least lay the foundation on what the bots are and the two different types of styles that I've come up with: the static one that we built, and then this dynamic one, which is easy. Let all the data come in from the SharePoint list, and then you add flows into it. So Reza, come on, show us what you got from the team side and all your fun stuff.
Let's go. I have 18 minutes, so I'm going to try and breeze through. And I also have average network. So let's see how this goes. And you can hear me fine, right, Dan? All's good for now.
Fine. Yep, very good.
All right. So let me know if you can see my screen. Let me switch to full mode. Can you see the Power Virtual Agents pricing page?
I do see that.
All right, let's go. So first thing, whatever Dan showcased today, he was using the full version of Power Virtual Agents. The pricing for that is $1,000 per month. It gets assigned to a tenant, which grants that tenant 2,000 sessions. A session is an interaction or a conversation between the bot and a user. Who can build bots? They need a license to build bots. And for that, because this license is assigned at a tenant level, you can assign then the creator license to any of your users. You can also have add-ons. Now, this is when you are using version or the full experience of the bot. Now here, I wanted to show you first a bot that I built with the full version, and that bot I have made available in Microsoft Teams. So my topic here is around Microsoft Teams and chatbots. So this is the same Power Virtual Agent bot creation experience. In my case here, I'm going to come and say hi to test my bot. Now, one thing that Dan has things, but I plan to cover the ones that he did not cover. So one of them is tracking topics. So when you're actually testing the bot, it's great to turn this on. Why? Well, let's check it out. Hi. So when I say hi to this bot, let me try and zoom out a little. It says, sorry, you don't have access to talk. You see how kind the bot is to me. Let me try this again. So let me refresh this. Maybe it kind of timed out. Dan, you can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I think,
sorry.
yeah.
Just a little worried about
refresh.
I'm just worried about the network. All right. So now I say hi to the bot, and let me track between again and say hello to the bot. So remember, hi, hello, these are all the greeting topics that's baked in. So if you observe here, when I said hi or hello, it actually takes me to the greeting topic and shows exactly the steps that have been executed so far. So now it stops at what can I help you with today? Now, in my case here, I have created an organization bot. So I have customized my greeting topics so that the user knows what this bot can actually do for you. So for example, this bot can do 3 things for me. It can search any activities or tasks that are assigned to me. It can search OneDrive, it can search Microsoft To Do, XYZ, or it can search for files, messages, or events, emails, calendar items, or any files that are shared with me. Or it can go and create teams for me as well. So let's
Reza, are you there?
check this part out, the third one. So I'm going to say I need a team. Okay, I'll say I need a natural language conversation with a bot. The trigger that I created for this topic will probably not have that word that says I need a team. But the trigger phrases that I put are things that are related or close to that phrase. Like I need a team, or like create a team, build a team, XYZ. So I'll say I need a team. And you can see how this flows through beautifully. It goes to the team topic. I only created these 5 trigger phrases. Well, it matched. So it kind of went in here. Then I asked a question. Please enter the team name. And I'm expecting a full response from the user. So whatever the user enters, grab that entire response and put it in this variable that gets created in PVA. So let's say I want to create a team called R&D. Okay, I'm going to say next. Now, the moment I do this, you will see how the bot moves ahead to the next question, which is please enter the description for the team. So I'm going to say Reza and Dan. That's the description. I'm going to hit next. So I'm basically taking inputs here from the user by asking a lot of questions. And all of this is being stored in variables. Another key thing is right here at the bottom, there's this variable option. If you select this, you can even look at what variables you have and what values are set for those variables. That is extremely, extremely powerful. One inbuilt variable is bot.user ID. That gives you the ID, the Azure AD identity of that specific user. So you can do a lot of things with that identity. For example, call Power Automate, and Power Automate can then use that user's identity through the Graph API to perform a lot of operations. Now, my next question is, what kind of a team do you want, public or private? So I'll say private. And choices that I've provided. So it's just like Dan showed earlier. And just like Dan had a flow, I have a flow here that gets triggered. And once that flow gets triggered, the flow sends me a response. Now, this, what you see here, is using Markdown. So I've leveraged Markdown to put in a nice looking image of Microsoft Teams. And here it says that your team request is now gone into the system and it is waiting for approval. You will be notified via email. That means I have a flow now that got triggered that has an approval action around it. So that's the basic concept here. Now, if I head over to my email, I'm playing the role of the approver for any request that comes in into the system for creating a team. So here's the request that came in for a team called R&D. Reza made the request. All the details that I entered in that bot are right here. And I can either approve or reject this. I will go ahead and approve this. And now what the flow will do is go ahead and create a team for me inside Microsoft Teams once this approval action is complete. And here in Teams, within a few minutes, we should see a new team pop up, which is called, and it's at the bottom live, right? Here's my team called R&D. Now, this bot, literally, if we look at the topic, that is team, the topic that I created. If I go to the authoring canvas for this one, right, the key aspect here was the flow. So I grabbed a lot of information. I got the ID of the user, name of the team, the description of the team, and the privacy for the team. All of these I asked through questions that I put forth to the user who is conversing with this bot. And right here at the bottom, wherein it says create team, so I'm going to use Daniel's strip. Trust me, I did not know that. So I'm going to select this. See, Dan, you taught me something. This takes me to the flow associated with that specific bot. Now here, if I go to edit this flow, and by the way, guys, for everyone using flow, there's a bug. So if you click on the screen, it will load it quickly. So here I have PVA sending data to, and this in the trigger itself, I've asked for these 4 attributes that I'm passing from the PVA editor to flow. And here, the first thing is I'm getting the profile of the user. And I'm passing the token of the user. So the user is the individual who is currently conversing with the bot. I get that ID of the user, so I'm passing that. So I use that to get that user's profile. Now here's another tip. When you call a flow from Power Virtual Agents, the flow has to respond within, I believe it's 2 minutes. If it does not, it will time out. Now, if I was to create an approval action, it would more or less time out because you're giving my approver 2 less time to even approve it. So what I did in this case is I created a parallel branch. The bot is waiting for a response. So first, let's respond to the bot. On one side, I went and provided a response to the bot. Here I used Markdown, wherein I put that image and I say that your team request is now waiting for approval. So PVA or my bot is now responded and the bot can move ahead. And on the other side, I have a process that just got created. And once the user approves it, I am using the create a team action to go and create the team. And then I can even add members and owners to that. And these could be questions that I asked the bot. So think about this, a bot for users to create requests for creating teams that can go through an approval process before a team has been created. So that's an example of how you could leverage it with Microsoft Teams in general. One thing about
nice.
Thank you. One thing about you know what, I actually did this. I had built this for one of my video topics, but I never got to it. But here it is. I got the opportunity today, so I said let's show it off a little.
Awesome.
So one thing is, if you go to publish your bot, you can of course publish the bots. Content is available. Where can I push this bot out to? So the full version, you can push it out anywhere. You can push it out to Microsoft Teams. You can push it out to a demo website. The one that Dan demonstrated earlier, he pushed it out on the demo website. I put that link in the chat so you can try that out. You have a lot of options: Facebook, Skype, XYZ. Now, all of these require that license for PVA, right? These come, Reza, I need to build bots. I need to build bots that are free. So do I have an option like that? And the answer for that is a yes. For that, the key is to use Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. We did a full series on this. In fact, I think I did a full live series on my channel on Dataverse for Teams. We even did an exercise on building a bot. Now here, inside of Microsoft Teams, if you head over to apps, there is an app available called Power Virtual. Once you have this app installed, bots specific team. That is that when you're building this bot, it is limited to a specific team only. However, the advantage you get here is, as long as your users have the license to access Microsoft Teams, they have the license to access the bot. Plus, this does not have any limits. Okay, so you can have as many conversations as you want with the bot. This is provided to you at no additional cost. The only limitation is it is contained within a team. That's number one. And the number two is you cannot go beyond. So your bot cannot go beyond the context of that team. So I can't share it with users who are outside the team, for example. So if I head over to the chat bots here, this is where I'm allowed to create bots, and I have all my Microsoft Teams listed here. Now I'll show you a couple of bots that I already have pre-built. So here I have a Microsoft team in which I have a simple help desk application. And this is built using Microsoft Dataverse for Teams and Power Apps. Users come in, create a ticket in the system. So let's say I am the admin of the system. Reza or a user put this request in for creating a training portal. I edit this and I make changes to this and save this. And for each of these tickets created here, there is a status associated with that. So the status here is approved, this one's rejected, and so on and so forth. And each ticket has a unique ticket. Now, of course, users can always go to the system, search for information, look at the tickets, and so on and so forth. But let's say I am a user who created this request, and I know my ticket number is 4. I need a bot, so I can ask the bot, self-service, what's the status of my ticket? So here's the bot in action. This bot is built leveraging Power Virtual Agents for Teams. This bot is called the Help Desk bot. And this bot is directly available inside of Teams for me. So let me try and zoom in and converse with this bot. So I'm going to say, hello, again, natural language. I'm greeting the bot. The bot triggers and says, hi, Reza Dorrani. So the bot knows who is currently conversing with the bot. It says, I'm a virtual agent. I can help you with checking ticket information. I'm going to say, okay, I need ticket help. Okay, again, natural language. Should now go in and say, okay, what's your ticket number? So let's say I say ticket number, I forgot the number, but I'll say 9. Ticket number 9. Now what the bot will do is it will go and trigger a flow. the flow will go and query my database and try and figure out what the status is. I think there's nothing called ticket 9, so I never picked it. Now, if I go back to my help desk app, I think I have ticket number 8, which is pending. So let's to that wonderful bot and say I ticket info. Again, natural language. It says what's your ticket number. This time I put ticket number 8, which actually does exist. So it should go and grab the status of that ticket from my database, which in this case is Microsoft Dataverse. And how did I do that? Through Power Automate. Every PVA today goes through Power Automate. This announcement has already been made, so I can disclose it. There is going to be the ability to directly connect to connectors in the UI in PVA itself. And for folks who are disappointed that Markdown is not an easy language to learn, yes, it's not. It's very finicky. If you make one mistake, your output won't render accurately. Adaptive card support is coming for Power Virtual Agents as well. That is something I am extremely excited about. So I would highly recommend you to go and check that out. Now, I have 5 minutes. I'm going to try and get this done quickly. Customer satisfaction survey. So very common use case. I have a Microsoft form. Users come in, fill this form, and give me feedback. So for example, a user called Joe. So Joe comes in and Joe at gmail.com, puts in his email address and says, you know what, I'm not so satisfied with your products, not that great. And Joe submits. So it's a standard feedback form anonymously available for every user to create in Microsoft Forms. The moment this response comes in, I have a flow that triggers, picks that information, and puts that in a backend SharePoint list. So I just created one for Joe that said, I'm not so satisfied. So that information is available right here. Now let's try and see how we can build a bot quickly so that my customer agents who are actually handling this, the feedback, they need to provide feedback, or they need to know what sort of feedback are we receiving. Instead of them going to the backend SharePoint list, keeping things up to date, going and checking out here, what if there's a bot where they can just interact with the bot and say, okay, can you give me all the ones that are not so satisfied? Or give me all the ones in the last week happy about, our products. So if I head over to Power Virtual Agents, and yes, I'm using PVA in Teams, every Microsoft team is backed by a SharePoint site. So this team is also backed by a SharePoint site. My team is called Power Zone. So right here, when I go to Microsoft Teams, I can go to my specific team, which in this case is Power Zone. And the goal was to build this bot from scratch, but sadly we are out of time. So luckily I always practice. So here's my bot that I practiced, and trust me, I built this in 10 minutes. Here's the simplicity aspect of the bot. I'll go to topics, customer satisfaction. These are the triggers that I put in. Okay, so customer details or info for customer sat info, so and so forth. And you can add as many triggers as you want. Notice I've even misspelled customer here. It understands natural language. If my intent is customer satisfaction details, it will trigger the bot. And in this, what I did is very simply, I said, hello. These things I'll talk about just to show you additional features of the bot. And then I ask questions, right? What is the satisfaction level you're looking out for, A or B? I can change this with, satisfactory or not satisfactory. And then I go and call a flow. So the heart of everything here is that flow. So if I select this, it should launch the flow for me right here inside the context of PVA itself. And if I click edit, this now will allow me to edit the flow. So see how simple this flow is. The flow triggers, I pass the satisfaction level, and then I query that SharePoint list, and a very simple filter query that I pass is get me all the data where satisfaction is not so satisfied. Grab that information, get that specific information of the user's name and email, join them all together in the form of a string. That's because you can only return values to PVA of type text, yes, no, or number. So we are limited at the moment with what we can do. We can't pass arrays back. That's why I had to do that. That's all about the bot. Now, one thing entities that if these entities are not sufficient for you, you can go ahead and build your own custom entity using regular expressions. This is next level stuff. Because think about this. If I'm asking the user, for example, give me an article ID, I want you to search my knowledge base, give me your article ID. If those article IDs begin with or have to be 2 characters followed by 6 digits, it has to be KB followed by 6 digits, I can simply create an entity pattern for that by putting that regular expression in here. The beauty of this is, if I use this entity when I'm asking the question to the user, it will keep asking the user to give the correct value based on the pattern specified. I created one for credit card number. I'll show you that in action right here, my topic of customer satisfaction. So let's test this out. I'm going to say hi. Okay, I want to show you the power of entities as well. So hi. Please note these entities have nothing to do with what I'm trying to show you. So I'm going to say customer satisfaction. Even if I spell it wrong, it's fine. You see, it triggered my topic. Now here you go. Color. I just wanted to show you. It's a question I'm asking the user. Now, if you look at the type, I picked the entity color. Now check this out. If I say Reza, can someone tell me if Reza is a color? It's not, right? Reza is not a color, right? That means this entity is smart enough to know that it can only accept colors from the user. Now, if I enter an actual valid color, only then it will move ahead. And you can see that right here. It's put red. My red was lowercase. It's actually mapped it to the true color property of that entity, which is amazing. Now check this out. Credit card number. This is that custom regular expression that I baked in. Now, a credit card number is 16 digits. Let's say I just put in some random digits, which is not 16. You see, it says I did not understand, right? That's because it's not matching the regex pattern that I specified. Now, let me put in a credit card number, and believe me, this is not mine, so don't try it out. Now, if I put in that 16-digit number, it knows that, yes, this matches that regular expression pattern, so it moved ahead. There are plenty of entities like money. Okay, money is very powerful. If you want to ask a question to the bot and the bot is responding to you and stating, okay, how much, you're trying to scan or search our database, what's the dollar amount? If the user enters 20, the number's 20, so it knows it's $20. If the user types the letter 20, TWENTY, it will understand the intent. That's the power of entities and bots. Of course, here I have some choices that I've provided. I'm just going to pick a choice. This should go and trigger the flow. And check this out. It went, queried my database, and got the first user that said that they are not so satisfied. And I believe that user here was Alan. Of course, I did not build it full-fledged to give me all the results. These are just some examples of Power Virtual Agents and what you can do with them. I'll show you one last one, and this is just a quick demo, and then I stop. Here is an expense reporting bot. I've shown this before, but now we'll try and understand this through the power of entities. I have a system wherein we are tracking user expenses. I say hi, the bot knows it's Reza. So I'm going to say I need my expense, and I'll spell it wrong. Expense details. I've purposely spelled it wrong to show you how it understands the intent of the user. There you go. Now it says, okay, you're looking out for expense reports. What type of expense reports? Pending, approved, rejected, or all of your expenses? Well, I'm looking out for all the pending ones. Okay. What's the dollar amount? Now, this is where I'm using the entity of type money. Now, if the demo gods are with me, should be $20. Okay. Now, check this out. I'm not actually putting an amount. I just wrote a natural language statement, but the bot, if this works, should be smart enough to pick 20 and know that my intent is that the dollar amount is 20. So it will take that number 20 and it should go and query my database. And that's exactly what it did. Go and query my database to check all the expenses that are greater than $20 and the status is pending. That's exactly what the bot did through Power Automate. If you observe the dollar amounts here, they're all greater than 20 and the status is all pending. So these are the kind of amazing experiences you can.
Reza, are you there?
Hey Dan, sorry, the network just went off.
No
I hope
worries.
I was able to complete the
You
demo though.
did. You did. The last demo over there where you're able to show that topic pool, that was awesome. That was awesome. My gosh, that was awesome. Yeah. Slight hiccup in the sound. Cool. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about right at the end, although, was in the screen over here is that we went through so many different examples, but the key thing is that process overview is what you want to focus on for constant improving. Because as you can see, we start from this way, we create a bot, we go through the entire process, we even measure the bot, and then there's when you come in, you also want to revise your bot. So this repetition process always gives you that room for improvements. That's one of those really interesting things that we have. It's something that you want to kind of keep in the back of your mind. So you come in, take a look, come in, take a look. Cool. So one of the things I wanted to show you was that example which you said that this was the first iteration of the flow, which had to do with Power Virtual Agent. So you didn't have that trigger over here. This is what you had. You actually had to make that HTTP call. So this was the old way of doing it, or one of the first iterations of doing it. And this is what, like Reza and I, when we did the demos, you have an actual trigger. You actually, you have that real return. This was the before. This is the after. And now at this, that before you would actually go and grab a URL. You had to put in a JSON. The same thing that you're trying to do over here. The speaker, well, put it in as a text. This is simple use forward. This is how it was before. So I'm really glad that this has come a long way when it was how to use Flow, because it was not intuitive before. It really wasn't. So just thought I'll add over here. But honestly, that's all we've got covered for the Power Virtual Agent side. Now we've got some little bit more announcements to make, but this would be actually a great time to see any Q&As that have come in. What you got over there, Reza?
All right, let's see what kind of questions we have. I think you were answering a lot of those along the way.
I did.
But still, I would like to pop it out on screen for a wider audience. So we have a question from our friend Bitey. Building chatbots inside of Teams would do a lot of good, especially for mid-scale companies who can't afford the full premium licensing. Dan, why is it that expensive like that? So before Dan answers that, Dan does not decide the license costs. Okay, go Dan.
Yeah, I don't. But remember that when you're doing it inside Teams, there's limitations. There's a lot of perks, but there's limitations. When you do it Teams, it's got an environment. You've got 2 gig, and you cannot increase that 2 gig number. That's what it is. Also, when you go ahead and use the Flow with it, you only get standard connectors. You don't get premium connectors over there. So you're bound by those limitations. Also, you don't get all those flexibilities where I can take a flow, I can go and attach that, outside the outside Teams. In fact, anybody, we just did a test over here. You can't do that. You don't get that heavy analytics functionality. So there's limitations inside Teams, which keep in mind that they are still high fidelity as far as using it, but you have the limitation. So just keep that over there. Just to see, Nilesh actually went and asked, what those limitations are. Go ahead and get the most up-to-date licensing document, and it gives a very detailed breakdown of what those limitations are from side by side.
Can I add something, because I see a lot of questions around? I want to try it out. I'll tell you what, all the demos that I showed you, the thing inside Teams is all free. So I did not pay a dime for that. Yep. The ones that I showed you with the full version, you can go and take the trial. And honestly, to date, I've just kept extending it. Now, that's for learning. Do not use that in production scenarios. It's a completely different ballgame. I'm just learning, so I am free to keep extending the trial. At one point, my trial is going to end, and I won't have that extension. So be careful about that. Nilesh is asking another question. Can we use PVA for external or anonymous users? By design, the bots that you build in PVA, not in Dataverse for Teams, they are meant for anonymous users. Yeah. If you want to add authentication to it, the bot has an option where you can even authenticate the users against your Active Directory. Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on to another question. I'll pass this at Dan. I am using a legacy system where data is maintained, and I want to use that. So basically, he wants to point to his legacy system. Migrating that data over to SharePoint or Dataverse, how can that be achieved using a bot?
Power Automate Flow is your answer. That's how you use it. So hopefully whatever is this legacy data system has the flexibility to make at least API calls, some calls, whether it is, whether a connector which is available with Power Automate, or it's, if it's got API, then you can make your own connector. You've got, somehow you need to be able to talk to that API data source, and then use Power Automate for that. Because then you can, the examples that Reza and I showed, with the SharePoint lists or any data source, we made calls to the data source and you will able to get that information in. So that will be the exact same thing. So you won't be able to use the team side. You'll probably have to use, not probably, you will have to use the standalone PVA. And then your intermediate step will be Power Virtual Agent. Just check to see if your data source has some API connection flex option.
So I want to call out something on this. Yeah, our demos were SharePoint and Dataverse related. However, we are using Flow, as Dan mentioned. So there are no limits. You can connect to any data source on premises or in the cloud, as long as the data connector is available. Yeah. Bear in mind, if your Flow makes a call to a premium connector, at that instant, when PVA calls Flow, the Flow requires a premium license and the licensing realm changes. So even though I use it inside of Teams and yeah, the bot creation is free, if I call the Flow and let's say the Flow query SQL, it requires premium licensing. So please bear that in mind when you are trying to build scenarios leveraging bots. Okay, another question that I have seen pop up a lot. I'm trying to see if I can get that right here on the screen. It's not a question, it's more or less a request. Is there an option to learn PVA from scratch? So I'll take this. Go to Dan Christian's channel. He has a full series. In fact, he has a full playlist. Dan, put the link in the chat, please. He has a full playlist on PVA. He shows you step by step. He's broken down chapters into each, like topics, entities. So I will, honestly, I've learned PVA through some of his videos. So I will definitely recommend you, not because Dan's here, be a friend.
Reza, you kind of went out a little bit. I think I know where he's going next. You there, Reza?
Yeah, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So all I was saying is go to Dan's channel for content on PVA.
Yeah, and what was he said, do you have any other backup after that? Something we can use?
Okay. Apart from that, of course, if you want to learn, I think Dan gave a great tip. Go to those lesson topics and read and understand how those are built. And of course, if you go to the community forums, there are a lot of sample bots and examples provided there as well for you to learn. And then Microsoft documentation, of course.
Yeah. There's also the Power Virtual Agents chatbot in a day. That could be helpful. Let me go grab that.
One more question, Dan, from Diego. Is there a limit to the number of bots that can be created with a license?
Oh, I do not know. I'll have to go look at the licensing doc to see how many chatbots you can build.
No, I don't think there is a limit. The limit is on the number of sessions. So you have to add couple.
Yeah, I didn't come across any limits of number of chatbots you can build. So yeah, I don't think there is any limit on that. What else is here? Is there a limit to that? Yeah, we went ahead and covered that. There's another one that came in. Shiak Ahmed asked, using bot without doing conversation message, shall we play video? Video input hasn't come into it yet. Images have come in, link has come in. Yeah. Video, Shamek, should be coming in very soon. So that's going to be out very soon. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I know there's more and more releases coming out. That's why definitely watch the Ignite one next month, because they're going to be talking about stuff over there. But video embedding is not available right now. And even with Markdown, Reza and I do a lot of testing. It comes out as just a blank icon, like a broken icon. I was for this video. I was actually for this show. I was testing embedding a YouTube directly inside. It just doesn't work. So, but I know that it's on their roadmap because they've talked about it. So, yeah.
All right. I think we are on time, and that covers all the questions for today. If you have additional questions, once this video goes live on Dan's channel, make sure you go there in the comments and post those questions. Dan, you want to show what are we doing next before we wrap up?
Yep. So the next video we have, it is on October 8th, 2021, same time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. Reza and I are going to do Power Apps tips and tricks. So this is for all of those people, all of y'all who have got comfortable with Power Apps, Canvas apps, and now you want those tips and tricks to like improve building the app or speed up building the process, or like some of those things you just never know, but you kind of have like, man, I wish I could do this. Attend this one, because we are going to do some really smart building, of apps, things to automate and speed up the process a little bit. So attend that session, and this is 100% dedicated for a Canvas app. So that should be a fun one. And then just make sure that you stay track of us on Twitter, so because we'll be announcing all the information and things over there. So that's going to be October 8th. It's going to be a fun one.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dan. I look forward to meeting you on October 8th with tips and tricks. I'm going to outdo you with my tips, but let's see. We'll try and outdo each other.
We should. I don't know. I have a lot of hidden gems. So no, that should be a fun one, man. Yeah, that'll be fun. But everybody
We'll have some
else,
fun.
thanks so much for attending, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.